Hello, friends. How are you feeling today? Give me a word, a phrase, a couple emojis in the comments. Let me know how your day's going. May's almost over, and I am wrapping up Lyme Disease Awareness Month with this video. I wanted to just share a little bit of my story, my experiences with how difficult and terrifying it is when you're seeking treatment for Lyme disease. So if you're unaware, Lyme disease is kind of controversial, and I'm going to kind of go over that a little bit in this video. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to share how Lyme patients and Lyme advocates of Oregon and Washington are going to have a chance to share their story with our state representatives. There's some new bills being proposed to protect our doctors who are treating outside of the CDC guidelines to help these Lyme patients, because what's happening is, so stick around to the end of the video, and there's going to be a little flyer that you can screenshot, share that with your friends in Oregon and Washington. They have opportunity to either call in, show up in person, or email their story to be shared on their behalf. And all the information's in the description of this video as well. So what's happening is that the CDC treatment protocols for Lyme disease do not, they've never been able to improve a 35 to 65% failure rate. So a lot of people are going through Lyme treatment. They continue to have symptoms throughout the antibiotic treatment. And then, after day 20 or day 28, doctors are no longer allowed to give you Lyme treatment, because in the National Institute of Health, these treatment protocols that the insurance companies use state that, you only need 14, now it's actually 1 day of antibiotic for brand new bites to 28 days, and that is what your insurance will cover. If you're being treated for longer than the 28 days, that's irregardless of how long you were sick or symptoms or anything, and there's really no scientific studies backing this up either. So peer-reviewed studies that have been happening all around the world have inspired this organization, ILADS, the International Lyme and Associated Disease Group, to create a different treatment protocol. And so now there's these doctors that are known as Lyme literate physicians, and they are using what's called the ILADS treatment protocol to treat Lyme patients. So when I was sick back in 2015, I felt like I was dying. I lost 26 pounds in 12 days. I had no feeling in my arms and legs. I was referred to, no one knew what was going on with me. I finally asked for a Lyme test. That Lyme test came back unequivocally positive. I had what's called the standard Lyme test is, it's called an ELISA and a Western blot test. It's a 2-tiered test. They look at your blood, they look for these antibodies. I had 4 out of the 5 bands, so that's considered like hypersensitive or like super positive, my doctor said. Super positive test. They further tested that through the ELISA, and that was also positive, so I tested positive on both tiers, and I was referred to an infectious disease doctor. This infectious disease doctor could not see me for 3 whole months, so I proceeded to explain that this was an emergency to the receptionist. I'm, have cognitive issues. I'm really in bad shape here. Can you put me on the cancellation list? The lady was like, sure, no problem, hung up. A few weeks later, and then I proceeded to call 35 different doctors on my insurance list to find someone who would actually see me right away with a positive Lyme test. So and this had been, we had plenty of evidence that I had been sick for years at this point. So like this was kind of an emergency, and doctors were just like, nope, can't see you, can't see you, can't see you. Finally got into the one doctor in Las Vegas who believed in Lyme disease and was like, yeah, this is an emergency, get in here. my general doctor who had referred me to this infectious disease doctor that couldn't see me for 3 months, somehow that guy got my general doctor's phone number, and he called her cell phone number after hours and just completely yelled at her. She was like, he ripped me a new one. He told me never ever send him any Lyme patients ever again. He saw my test results. He was telling her it's not Lyme disease. It's got to be something else. There's no way it's Lyme. Yeah, so she got really interested in that, and then has since gone through that ILADS physician training and been able to recognize these symptoms in other patients. But what's happening all over the country is that not only are doctors unable to recognize the early signs of this disease when we're most needing to treat it, they're also looking at these positive Lyme tests and genuinely feared for their career. So they refuse to treat us, because if I go in and they only treat me for 14 days for Lyme disease and I continue to have Lyme symptoms, now they're not allowed to treat me anymore because they can be sued by the insurance companies and lose their licenses. So there's a lot of doctors being sued by all kinds of the big insurance companies. They're losing their licenses for treating people. And I really don't know of any other illness where you're prescribed antibiotics and you continue to have symptom and they tell you you can't have any more antibiotics. Every time I've ever heard of anyone getting antibiotics, and in my own experience as a child, you know, you've got strep throat or something, here's a 5-day Z-Pack. You're usually feeling good, but before you have to finish taking those pills, they tell you, make sure you finish this bottle of pills because you're going to not feel like you need them anymore, but keep taking them, right? Lyme disease is the only thing I've ever heard of, the only illness I've ever heard of where they say, oh, you're still having symptoms? Like, no, stop your medication. We're going to give you antidepressants now. Now you have something called post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome, and that's in the National Institute of Health guidelines. That's to be treated with antidepressants, even though there's no studies or anything, scientific studies showing that this would be a proper treatment for someone with a persistent bacterial infection. So there's a lot of controversy going on because, you know, a lot of our doctors are unable to, first off, they're not even aware of the issues because the CDC information and the NIH information is so out of date. All these treatment protocols are based off studies from the 70s and the 90s, and meanwhile ILADS is using up-to-date peer-reviewed studies, lot of new information from all over the world to create a you know, patient-centered treatment plan. And so there's legislation happening now in Washington and Oregon that is hopefully going to protect our doctors who want to treat for outside of these CDC protocols. And if you know anyone, or you are someone, or you know a doctor who would like to contribute to this meeting on May 29th, all the information's in the description of this video. And here in a second, I'm going to put up a flyer. So take a screenshot of that and try to share that with your Lyme advocates and Lyme patients who are in Washington, Oregon State. You can show up in person, you can call in, you can watch online, or you can even just email a short written statement of your experiences trying to seek treatment for Lyme disease to you know, inform our state reps so that we can get more doctors and more protection for our doctors to treat this fastest growing vector-borne disease in the world. The current estimates predict over 2 million Lyme patients, new Lyme patients annually in the US alone by 2020. So this is very, very important. Okay, so thanks so much for watching, you guys, and take a screenshot of this and reach out with any questions. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Until then, be well.